few slides, and hopefully my sound is okay. Let me know if it's not. But we're here today to talk about the bulk import process for 2030 commitment reporting. So to get started, I am Melanie DeCola. I am AIA's Director of the Climate Action Pledge Programs. I've been at AIA about 6 years now, and I'm joined here by Andrew, who is our manager for the pledge programs, and he will be leading our demo when we get to the DDX portion of the session. Also here is the 2030 commitment email. This is a general inbox for any questions. We can help you with reporting, can help you with any errors. Let us know if anything comes up while you're in the DDX. That's your point of contact. And we have a couple more sessions coming up as well. Here on the right, in the beginning of March, we'll have a how to submit your portfolio session, which we can touch on today as well. And then we'll have a last minute questions as well towards the end of the reporting period before the 31st deadline. And I'll put some links in the chat when we get a little bit further on, so you have them to hand. And also, if you want to look at sustainability action plans, we have a Dropbox as well. And please don't forget, if you're a materials pledge reporting firm, we are also taking submissions until April 30th. Next. All right, next. As a reminder, if you've joined us before for a webinar, we have different ways that you can import your data into the DDX. The most direct way is the direct data input, where you're actually interacting with fields directly in the DDX and uploading your information that way through field input. And today we're here to talk about the second way, which is the bulk import, which is based on an Excel file, which we will show you and walk through a bit of detail on. And then for folks who are doing a fair amount of energy modeling, we do offer API connections directly to the DDX through your energy modeling software. And we have some links on our help pages that help with the code if you're interested in that way of going about it. Next. So yes, the DDX is our main database for reporting for 2030 commitments, and you should hopefully all have access by now. That's the main link. If you're having issues with your password or anything, just let us know your account and we'd be happy to help you. Today, we're mainly going to be focused on the bulk import, which is called out in red on this page, but just wanted to say that it is on your company tab. So if you don't see it, check your company tab, because that's where you'll be able to both download and then re-upload files. Next. So once you click on that import icon in the previous slide, you'll get taken to this page. And this is both where you can download the templates that we're going to go through today. And those are three different files, although they're just three different formats of basically the same file. And this is also where you will then upload your file in the choose file portion. And then down below, there is the portfolio submission, which is, as you get closer to the deadline, what you might use if you're going direct, using this directly to report. And next. So this is a little bit of a detail on what you'll see once the Excel file has been imported. When you have an error, you will get a specific call out to a specific column. You can see down below on the left-hand side, there's column names, which coordinate directly with the Excel column titles. And then it'll give you a basic diagnoses of what's wrong, what you need to change to avoid that error. And then it'll helpfully tell you the row, so you can go back and call out that specific row and that specific column. Next. Once you have fixed all your errors, that error section will completely disappear from your interface, and it will directly upload your Excel spreadsheet into the database, and you'll be able to see your projects. In accordance with that, if you do not get an email from the system, if you're doing reporting this way, you want to contact us because it most likely means that we have not registered, the DDX has not registered your actual submission. But this is just for reporting. You don't, if you're uploading your projects just to have a record of them, you will not necessarily get this email. So this is more important as we get later into March. Next. So we have a plethora of help pages to help with DDX and all different aspects. You can see on the left, there's the getting started, there's an overview, there's how to manage your company profile. This specifically for people with admin access. Managing your projects is where the bulk of the content is, and is also where the bulk import content is. Leverage your DDX data for Energy Star, and then we also have some updates that we do at the end of the previous reporting year, and then of course your open office registration is here as well. So this is the page that is most relevant to today's session. This is also where we have updated a bulk import guide, which is a PDF, which you can view directly in your browser. This will give you tables and show more detail in terms of bulk import is pretty specific on what the nomenclature in your cells has to be. So if you're having issues with errors, you just can't figure out what's wrong, check the bulk import guide. There's also a tab in the sheet itself. But it's most likely you missed a space or something's not aligning with your company profile. It's usually a fairly simple fix. But this will give you a better sense. And it also has tables at the very end of the guide to show you different climate zones, different modeling tools, all the kinds of specific details that you'll need when you're filling out your bulk import spreadsheet. All right. For folks who are not aware, may not have joined the peer-to-peer network, we really, really, really want you to join the peer-to-peer network. This is our easiest, most direct way of getting updates out to you from our kind of centralized knowledge hub. And we also encourage people to ask questions of each other. If you're from a large firm and you want to understand how to get started with bulk import, what kinds of projects you should put in there, you could ask questions of your fellow peers, peer-to-peer network. And we also do use the DDX directly to email points of contact, but we really encourage you to sign up for the peer-to-peer network, and we'll also use it to publicize events and things that might be relevant in the larger 2030 community. All right, next. The YouTube page. So after this session is done, we will be uploading a recording to YouTube. That's why we record these sessions, for the greater kind of good of the community. And we want people to be able to go back to these sessions and get more detail, rewatch. You can go back to a certain section of a video and review it. But we will always put these up online and have them available to you guys. And we also have the materials pledge content up here as well. And you can always go back and rewatch something. All right, now demonstration time. And I will be putting some links in the chat and monitoring as we go.
Great, thank you. You just got situated, guys. Pull up the spreadsheet. Okay, so as Melanie mentioned, when you're about to go upload onto the DDX, which I will pull up as well. Okay, here we go. So you're going to go to your company profile. This is just our testing site on the back end that we use just to make sure that, when we're troubleshooting bugs, we're not actually interfacing with any of the actual company profiles. So this is our test site. So disregard the different color and kind of the strange nomenclatures of the projects. But as you mentioned on your company profile, you'll go to import. And then you'll see if you don't have a template downloaded, we keep these most up to date in line with any of the changes to the DDX with the inclusion of this year's embodied carbon table. There's three file formats, one CSV, XLSX, and then a normal Excel file, and then a Excel file, but with drop-down options. So it's data validation, which I will show you what that looks like. Again, the is it showing my screen? Is it showing the Excel file now, Melanie, or is it still on the? Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is the Excel.
Great, awesome. So as we noted, so like things like the baseline sources, energy baseline sources, reporting year, things have to be formatted so that when it's pulled into the DDX through the Excel file, it matches. There are things like reporting phase that like you can't have it so that um, just concept and not concept slash planning. So these are things that in the DDX just have to match. So that's why we created this sample with the drop downs for this year for the options that are multi-select or multi single select on DDX, just so you can keep the formatting in the fields similar. You don't have to use this option, and you'll notice in each of the Excel files, we have listed the options of those single select fields out here, so you can just kind of if you don't want to use the drop downs, just kind of copy and paste, knowing that these are the formats of what the fields should be in the actual reporting spreadsheet. You'll see that there are a lot of columns, but hopefully it's not too confusing. I said again, new to this year, we have added the embodied carbon table for
Yes.
um, ease. Sorry?
That's a great point. I was just going to
Oh,
say the embodied carbon is new, and it's good to note that because it was not included. We had a different setup last year, and just also to note that the different sections are color coded.
yes. Different sections are color coded. I'll get into some of the things that might be kind of not challenging, but you might come across when inputting. So in the body carbon table on the DDX, you'll notice here that this series of nine numbers with a vertical line as a separator. That's the same vertical line separator that we use for the on-site renewables option. So if I go back to the DDX, I'll show you if you haven't logged on to the DDX and seen what the embodied carbon table looks like. We could just do that really quick just to give you a frame of reference when we are discussing the inputting of the embodied carbon fields into the bulk upload spreadsheet. 1 second. Again, this is just a imaginary example, so disregard everything. So you'll see here how the embodied carbon data is inputted into the bulk upload spreadsheet. You'll see 5 columns in accordance to these stages, and then the 9 numbers correspond to each of these values on the vertical axis. So it goes in order of again 5 stages and then the 9 categories here. Um, so if I go back to the Excel file, um, again, these numbers, you do have to input numbers if you do have embodied carbon data to input and you're not using the override, which I'll get to in a second. You are just kind of also, if you don't have it for those stages, doing 9 zeros separated by the vertical line. If you do have that data, doing it like so. No spaces in between, just straight up number, vertical line. And then when you're uploading it, so if I were to upload this data here, the 0097, keep that third 97 in mind, that would go here under shell exterior enclosure. So that's kind of how it corresponds. Um, and in the bulk uploads guidance document, it makes it very clear of just how kind of the um, actual data is then inputted into this embodied carbon table. Anything to add there, Melanie?
I
Oh,
think
override.
Yeah,
Yep.
the override, and then also if you scroll over to the left, it's just important to note when you're inputting anything embodied carbon, you should say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, column AX, you should say yes, and that will then allow you. I mean, you can always put data in the other side in the other columns, but if you have a no and then you put data in, it'll give you an error. So if you have embodied carbon, say yes. If you don't, say no, and then you can basically ignore the columns to the right for the most part.
Yeah, we've made it so that if you actually don't put yes or no, it defaults to no, that you don't have any embodied carbon data. So
Great.
just make sure you have that in there. And as we mentioned before, if you do have a total GWP intensity to override, you have this override yes, no. And then here's you can put in that value right before the stage columns.
And the override directly relates to an override button at the bottom of the table in the DDX.
Yes, which I can show you here. It's when you're actually in the DDX, it's a toggle, and then you would it be inputting it there. So that's kind of that number that you put in the total GWP intensity would be
Will show
locked
up here.
here. Yeah. Great. So I can now show you a example of a bulk upload with some errors, and then kind of we can review kind of what are the changes that would need to be made. Again, these are kind of maybe common mistakes that folks make when doing their uploads. So we could just run through those now. Again, so I already have a prepared one. So you would just click this link and then it automatically goes to your downloads file. So just make sure that you have a naming convention that you can remember which one's your most recent one, or just put it on a shared drive with your colleagues if you all are kind of contributing to it. But yes, so again, it doesn't matter the CSV or Excel drop downs that you use. So all but the Excel is the one with, the color coded columns for the sections, different sections. So for me, I am going to upload this file that says example with errors. Um, and then it says asking me, would you like to submit these projects as a part of your portfolio submission? Yes. And then I would select 2025. Actually, the example I'm using, these are for 2022. Doesn't matter for this test circumstance, but obviously you'll be submitting for 2024. So I'm
25.
going to wait, oh, sorry, 2025.
Yeah.
Forgot what year it was, guys. 20, so I'm going to select 2022 just for the purposes of testing. Click upload. Um, hmm, this should have more errors, but I think so. This one, oh yeah. So this office location, um, when you actually are in your, this is a an error that will come up. Um, that's why. Okay, I know why. I selected the wrong file. The office location in your DDX profile has to match exactly of what you put the office locations here in your bulk upload. So if you go back to your company profile, you'll see here these office location names. You just have to make sure that these match exactly. Otherwise, there'll be an error. So you can always edit the office names that you have in your DDX, or add any new ones if they're missing from your profile. So that's just something to note. Let me go back to import. I have another test file that, yes, should be the one with the errors.
So Andrew,
And
just to note, you don't necessarily have to click the portfolio submission just to upload
yes,
projects, but
that's
yeah,
also true. Yeah.
great.
Um, Great. So this one also is having it so that let me 1 second. I might have created more perfect bad Excel files than I should have. 1 second. Should be very simple. Yes. Okay. There you go. All right, perfect. Um, we're getting a bunch of errors here. You'll see some just like very basic feedback, such as so you have the column name as we mentioned before. So I'll go back to the file to show you how that corresponds. It's loading. There you go. So it's saying project status, row 3. So you'll go to the column, project status. It's not the right one. One sec. Status row 3. Yeah, there you go. Project status, row 3. It's saying that I have to have a project status inputted. Just gonna put that as one on a hold. It's saying now project type, row 3 as well. So the one right next to it. It's either interior only or whole building. Change that to whole building. Again, no office location with that name found in the for the firm. So I'd go back and just make sure that the office locations in column F match and correspond to the office locations I have in my company profile. And then it's saying that the life cycle stages required data are in this should be in this format. So as I mentioned before, for the fields, for the fields of the embodied carbon table when you're inputting them, and the section on on-site renewables. There are various options that you'd be putting for on-site renewables. Or it could be one, it could be multiple. All of those are separated by that vertical line. Here, that error is coming up because I've used, which I've just done, commas instead of the vertical line. So it's showing that I should take that corrective action, changes to the vertical line. Um, a reporting year one is saying it's blank, row 4. So just find that reporting year right here. This is the version of the bulk upload file with the drop downs. And now just select it for 2025. So that's pretty, it's very, I think it's pretty easy to follow in terms of like taking that corrective action. Again, if there's an issue of like the formatting of input that you're not certain of, definitely refer to the bulk upload um, the bulk upload guidance document. We show you there, like, all options for any of those that are like, if you're not using the drop down, anything like country, um, or like state and province if you're in Canada, or as the project is in Canada, it shows you, the formatting that it should be. So again, like for District of Columbia, it won't be DC. It has to be spelled out District of Columbia. So that maps into the DDX. Climate zones, similarly. Um, it shows you kind of every single format of the climate zone options. But it's not just, you can't just type in 1A, it has to be 1A, very hot, humid for that climate zone. Same for the units, it's just the abbreviations. And then the use types, obviously, lodging has to be lodging dash general or lodging dash hotel motel, lodging residence hall dormitory. So it is that specific. If you are getting those errors and it's saying like invalid entry, just make sure if you aren't using the drop downs with the formatted options that you are just checking the formats of if you're doing it manually. Anything else, Melanie, I should add?
Let's see. I was just looking through, responding to some of the chats,
Oh,
and
sorry.
yeah, no
Oh,
worries.
wow, that's a lot. Okay.
There has been a lot. And noting that you may not have all the options if you are not an admin for your firm's account. We have an admin designation and we have an employee designation. The difference is admins have a little bit more leeway to edit their firm's accounts and profiles, and they are also the only ones who can submit an actual submission for the year. So you will not see those options if you are not an admin, but we can help with that. We can change your account from the back end, or if you know the admin for your firm, they can do that as well. There's also another point about calling out the required fields in the Excel itself is something to think about. We don't want to make any more changes this year because we're kind of already halfway through reporting period, but possibly we could call out the fields that are required in that second tab, Andrew, in some way, just to show folks which ones are absolutely required for reporting and which are optional, but it is in the bulk import guide. In the table, all the things that are required are dark green, but yes, you do have to have multiple files open at the same time. There was a question about embodied carbon. If you could, Andrew, if you could bring up the DDX page itself. I just was going to show where that was.
Oh, sorry, thought I was showing it. Let me go back to the. All right, so go
Yeah,
to
if you
a.
go to track data there and scroll down to the embodied carbon. So if you have no selected here, you will not see the table or any of the fields. And this is true across the DDX. Once you select yes, it'll drop down and you'll see all the options that are required. And then the fields with the little asterisks in them are the ones that are required for that section. And you'll get a warning if you only fill out half of them, they will turn red and you'll get a warning and you will not be able to save and move on to the next page or back to your dashboard. And that's how you know what might be missing. So this is what we call the design data page, and this is where the bulk of the data is for each project. So take a look through these if you're not familiar with those. And then this is the dashboard that is a project dashboard for your specific project.
I guess a question that has been asked in the past is about updating a project that had been submitted in the previous year. So just making sure that the project ID matches,
Mhm.
um, which would
It's in
be
the
back,
project
yeah.
information.
Oh, should be. Oh yeah, sorry. This is the project number, and the formatting is weird here. But yeah, you'd have your unique project number. So whatever your project number is should match that project number of that previously submitted project. So it maps directly. So say you're updating like the phase reported and your reporting year, um, it would create that new line if you have that same project in your new bulk upload file. It wouldn't like overwrite it unless the data is exactly the same. If it's different, it would add that new kind of row here for construction administration in 2023, if that's the new information that you had added in that design data that you had added in the bulk upload file.
Yeah, so generally we recommend inputting or updating a project when the phase changes or when the reporting year changes. And you can always go in and re-upload. It'll just override your data. Okay, there's more questions in the chat here. Let me just read them out. What should you enter under predicted LPD for interiors projects that don't have a predicted LPD? So you can go through the basic interiors only project. Honestly, I can't tell you exactly what you would put in for that. It's send us your project and we can take a look. Could you please show again where we can see the Excel files?
Yeah. So
I'm gonna add it.
again,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, then you would go to this import button on your company profile page, click it, and then the samples are hyperlinked here. If you give me 1 second, I will also,
Yeah, you won't see the tool tab. That's just for AIA admins.
yeah, 2030 commitment again, and you're in the Confluence help page. Um, Go to managing projects, and then you'll see this option down here that says add projects through bulk upload. And so we also have the same templates linked here and the bulk uploads guidance document. In this document, we also note which ones are required fields by color coding, right?
Yeah,
Didn't
keep
we?
going.
Oh yeah, there you go. I was like, I thought we did. Yeah, so you'll see here, there's in rose and dark green in the bulk upload guide are required for all projects, and then light green are conditionally. So as Melanie just said, for like the embodied carbon table, if you were to say, yes, I'm inputting embodied carbon, those would obviously be like conditional required fields um, for that embodied carbon table. So if you selected no for the embodied carbon, that's obviously not required wholesale. But there obviously are the ones that are required, like your like demographic information around like country, office location, state, etc. So definitely refer to this guide at the very bottom of the guide as well, just to show you while we're here. Again, for those ones with like really long kind of like options for the single selects. Here, kind of like the formatting of the countries that we use. Um, and then US states and Canadian provinces are here as well. So regarding the spelling, as I mentioned before, climate zones, the energy codes that we currently have on the DDX are listed here, and the ones that are available in the bulk upload. As I mentioned, use types. So definitely refer to this document. It's very helpful. If you have any questions, you can obviously email us if you're experiencing any issues. We've had many people, email us and say like, "Hey, I can't save and continue. What's going on with this data?" So we'll ask them for screenshots or a screen recording of what's going on, and then we'll troubleshoot.
So Andrew, just looking at this help page, it looks like there's two CSVs. Should one of those be in Excel?
One of those should be in Excel.
Okay, cool. It's the
Yeah.
same basic file, but we also know that there are a few energy codes that are newer that are not yet in the DDX. We are still awaiting some MBI analysis on energy codes. That is the only reason they are not in there, and they probably will not be for this project cycle, but we will try to get them input later this year. Okay. More questions coming in. For projects that are not energy modeled, do we need to submit baseline target EUIs as indicated in bulk import guide, or will they be automatically populated? Yeah, so for if you have your own targets for your own project and you know what they are, you can always input them, or the DDX will give you a default energy reduction percentage. So you should be able to just ignore those if you do not have them. For projects that are minor renovation, should we still choose major renovation as we do not have a more appropriate option? Yes. So major and minor renovations are not specifically called out. It's basically we're focused more on whole building versus interior, but yes, use the one that's closest to your project type. Can you walk through how project is closed out when you do bulk uploading? Does it happen automatically if a project is completed? Yes. If you put complete in your project bulk import file, it will automatically close it out, but always go back and check your company tab just to make double sure. ICC 2024 is not an option. Yes, that is one of the codes that we do not have currently. It'll just give you an error and it will not allow you to upload it because it's not in our system, unfortunately. So you have to choose the closest one um, to what you feel is right. We also have a table in the help pages where you can go and look at the percent reduction. It's in the code help page if that helps. Oh my gosh, you guys are wearing me out with the questions. Is bulk import guide PDF updated to the latest version? Yes, it should be updated. We were making changes the last few weeks. I just lost my question. Can you look through close out? Okay, ICC 27. Climate Zone 3B is also not a part of the drop down. Do we have to input manually or will it break the template? Is 3B not in there? Let's see, I've got the
Not
guide.
in the data validation, so I just need to fix that and I'll get the new template updated.
Okay. So it sounds like it should be in the DDX, so it should not break the system to write it in.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, was getting errors when I left these fields blank. Should I type in a dummy value or the automatic override the automatically assigned percentage reduction? So the percentage reduction is automatically calculated if you are just using basic code entry and you're not doing energy modeling. If you have the values, it will override, should override the percent reduction in the DDX for your project. I'm not sure why you're getting errors if you left the fields blank. Try a dummy value, see if it works. If nothing's working, email us and we can help set up a time to figure out why. Okay. Sorry, the questions were jumping around. All right. Anybody else? Anybody we didn't get to? People can also raise their hands or unmute. We've got about 5 minutes left in the session, just FYI. Anyone with bulk imports knowledge who has tips and tricks to share if you've done it in the past? We're not able to get any working group members on this one, unfortunately. But if you have questions that only an architect could answer, let us know. We can forward your questions.
Sorry, I unmuted myself. I have one more
Yeah.
question.
Mhm.
We have a parking garage project
Mhm.
and it has EV charging, and the project
Mm.
is net zero if we do not account for EV charging. Should we like call it as such, or is it
Right,
like
that's a great question. What we've traditionally said about parking and the DDX, we do have a parking use type, but we've basically said that the DDX is more for conditioned space than unconditioned space. So EV chargers are a little in between because they are using energy, but if we would not feel bad if you excluded them, I guess is what I'm saying. So if you have a net zero project and the parking is a separate on a separate meter or a separate charge, you can leave them out.
perfect? Thank you.
Pro tip, don't wait until the last minute. Yes, you will inevitably get an error. Yes, that is a great tip. You can upload bulk import over and over again. It will just override your last data input. So don't feel bad. You can always go back and change. You can go back in manually. You can override something. But yes, it's a great way to get a bunch of data into the DDX all at once. It may not work for your firm if you're changing things at the last minute, but experiment with it and see what works for you. Yes, bulk imports it's a very specific process and it's great, but it has its downsides. Any other questions? Also, oh, something that popped in my head. Occasionally, we'll see somebody emailing us who has a very generic error message that they're getting that just says, like, we could not upload your spreadsheet, or error in the system or something, where it doesn't call out which row or which column you're in. That can often happen if you have too many errors and the system is not able to tell you all of the errors in one, like, concise space like it does for the error messages. Our recommendation is you try to reduce the number of projects in your sheet and maybe just get it down to 10 or 5. It should be able to handle that amount of projects, and it'll give you the specific column or the row that you have errors in, and you can kind of extrapolate. Sometimes it's like an error in spelling that you've copied across 100 different projects, and the DDX just doesn't like it, and it'll kind of shut down. So that's our strategy, is just to reduce the number of projects and see if you can figure that out. If not, let us know. We can help, and we can do testing as well. Another question. If we submit the bulk upload a couple of times, is it going to overwrite the previous upload? Yes. As long as the reporting year is the same, it will override for that year. And for the person who asked the LPD question, I will get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. All right. So as mentioned, you can always email us at the 2030 commitment email address, and we will get this session uploaded to YouTube within the next day or two. You can always go back and rewatch, and we're so glad you could join us, and reach out if you need to.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you,
joining.
guys.
Have a great day.